time wasn't lifted up during the announcements. I don't know how much that affects attendance, but we'll just see, hey, this is what happens when we don't announce at the beginning. But I'm really glad you're all here. Welcome to St. Matt's Trivia. Got a couple rules for you to start. We're going to start with the serious stuff up front. So, first off, no phones. Don't cheat. You have to use your brain and then also the people around you. We're going to work as a team. So the way this is going to work, this isn't going to be like a Jeopardy thing where you have to shout out as fast as you can. I want you to think through it and work as a team. I have answer sheets, so you'll take time to think through what the answer is and then fill it in here. And then after each section, we will review the answers. And also with that, don't shout your answers out because you don't want anyone else to hear you. You want your team to get it. You worked hard for these insights. And most importantly of all, this is supposed to be fun. We can learn a little bit and enjoy just kind of being a part of the community. There's going to be 4 categories, or 4 rounds in this game that are all St. Matthew themed. The first round is on St. Matthew the person.
Oh. What are the prizes?
Ooh, that is a great question. I thought about prizes and I was like, you know what? I don't know. So the prizes are bragging rights. I can include you in the announcements next week or something, right? So the first round is St. Matthew's the person. The second round, I think the order, if I remember right, is St. Matthew the gospel, like the gospel according to St. Matthew. Round 3 is St. Matthew the church. And then round 4 is kind of like a fun miscellaneous category. So break into teams. Let's see how many you got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Maybe break into teams of like 2 or 3. Just look for somebody around you and clump up, and I will pass you an answer sheet and a writing utensil. So we can ideally do this with somebody you might not know yet. This will be fun. So, who's your team here? Okay, so I'll give you the answer sheet, grab a writing utensil. You got one, perfect. Perfect, so can I give you a writing sheet? Quickly got a writing utensil as well. Perfect. Here we go, perfect. So can I give you an answer sheet? You need a writing utensil as well? Perfect. Okay, and then team lines up here. Andy, jump in on a team here. Sure. You got a writing utensil. So this is going to be more like pub trivia style. So we have plenty of writing utensils if anything you didn't work. So Andy, you want to maybe jump in with the lens over here?
Yeah. How about this chair?
My mom's enjoying it.
Perfect, that'll be great.
And I'll move the chair over.
Okay, so any questions before we start about how this works? Cool, we're going to have a lot of fun with this. Round 1 is St. Matthew the person. Cool. So the way this is, your answer sheet, you can see there are 3 questions in this first round. My hope with these questions is some of these you're going to go, oh my gosh, that was really easy. And some of them are probably going to be like, ooh, I don't know. So hopefully you can walk away feeling like you got at least something. But if you get everything, I'm going to be really impressed too. Ready for this? The first question is, what was Matthew's profession before following Jesus? If you came at 8:30 today, you should know this. What was Matthew's question before following Jesus?
One writes it down.
Yeah.
So given how quiet things are, leads me to think that you all are confident about this.
We are.
But while you're waiting on this, let me see if I can pull up. Let me just test to see if this works. This. Should we do this right here? Okay, you got it. Okay. So, ready for, got that first one? We'll come back and review these at the end, so don't shout them out yet. Question 2. There is a symbol that's traditionally associated with St. Matthew. It's in Christian art and iconography. There's a distinct, each of the evangelists, the authors of the gospel, gets a symbol. What is St. Matthew's symbol?
You look like an angel, I trying to figure it out.
Oh, yeah, he had a scarf like. Oh. Look at the stage afterwards.
Yeah, it's down in the same stained glass entryway
It
too.
is, yeah. It absolutely is.
Yeah, I think that would be beautiful.
Okay, and if you're while you're thinking about, here's a bonus. Can you name any of the symbols associated with the other evangelists? So there's 4 symbols. Each Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John get a symbol. First is the main question is what's Matthew's, but the bonus is what are the other evangelists?
John was an eagle. Luke was an ox. Filthy lucre.
Welcome, Ruth. Are you joining us today?
Yes.
Join a team. We're doing team trivia right here. Jump on in. Okay, so now we're on our 3rd question of the first round here. The final question of this first round on the theme that is Matthew the person is, which name used in another gospel is traditionally understood to refer to Matthew? So, you know how like there's like, it's not exactly the same thing, you know how there's like Simon and Peter, same guy. There's kind of an assumption that there's 2 names like throughout the gospels that refer to Matthew. What's the other name?
You were getting tested?
This way you can shout out, you can talk to your teammates, right? I told you some are going to be harder than others. Don't worry, I think this might be the hardest section though. Are we still working? We got it all? Okay, well let's go back. So question 1. What was Matthew's profession before following Jesus? Did anybody feel like they have an answer for that?
Tax collector.
Tax collector, right? There you go. If you got that, give yourself a point. So we know tax collectors were not popular at the time, as Pastor Ann talks about in her sermon today. If you come to the If you haven't come to 8:30, come at 11. You'll hear Pastor Ann talk about how tax collectors were not well liked. Okay, so give yourself a point if you got that. Okay, question 2. What symbol is traditionally associated with St. Matthew in Christian art and iconography?
What's this 20?
$1 bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, do any of you have a bulletin today?
I didn't keep it though.
Couldn't figure
The
out.
cover
It
was
looked
like-
an angel with banners
They
flying.
had a banner.
Many times.
I wrote scroll.
You know what? Scroll, I mean, that's kind of, well, give yourself a half point for it. So, it's a winged man or an angel. So, it's what was on the cover of the bulletin. So, and if you, and for what it's worth, Ed shouted out, if you walk down to the, like, on the far side of the building here, over on the education wing expansion, there's stained glass that has the 4 symbols in it. So,
Oh.
if you walk down through the education wing, you can see it.
Why is he known as an angel?
Why is he known as an angel? I'll answer that once we get to the other 3 evangelists. So can we get any of the other ones? So we got an angel for Matthew. What are the other? Yeah.
I think John is an eagle.
John is an eagle. That's right.
I went to St. John's.
There you go. John is an eagle.
Ah, thank you.
Anybody know what Mark or Luke is?
Luke is an ox.
Luke is a winged ox. They really like their wings. Yeah.
Really?
Luke is an ox. Mark is a lion. So if you got any of those for Mark, Luke, or John, give yourself 1 point. If you got Matthew, give yourself another point. So that was up to 2 points there.
But not a winged lion?
If you got a winged lion or a lion, either of those can work. So, where do these come from? Isn't this they're kind of weird symbols, aren't they?
Yes.
So it is funny. I didn't know this till this week, but those 4 symbols are in Ezekiel 1 and in Revelation 4. There's like a passage, one of these kind of wild visions in Revelation of a lion, an ox, an eagle, and a man. They're like, okay, and some time in Christian tradition, they're like, let's assign each of those to the 4 Gospels. And then they kind of said, okay, so here's our reasoning for it. Like Matthew, it's kind of recognizing Jesus' incarnation. He's a human. God comes out as a human. So that one. Mark is recognizing the kingship of Jesus. He is a lion. Luke, I can't remember. There was some reasoning for ox. Oh, he was a sacrificed, sacrificial cow or something. And then eagles, according to tradition, could stare into the sun without blinking. So it's something about how it's a more elevated Christology in John. But I think ultimately, maybe my more cynical reading is they just kind of needed to break up that vision from Revelation 4 and give it to one of each of the Gospels. And they're like, this seems good enough.
Revelation and Ezekiel.
There you go. So Revelation 4 and Ezekiel 1. So that's where it comes from. It comes from they just took a Bible passage and said, let's assign it to one of each of these evangelists. So there you go. And it's the same, and there's stained glass in St. Matthew that recognizes that. Which name is used in another gospel is traditionally understood to refer to Matthew? Levi. And so this is something that's interesting when you hear about people talking about harmonizing the gospels, because in Mark and in Luke, Jesus calls a tax collector named Levi. And in Matthew, Jesus calls a tax collector named Matthew. So the assumption was, it looks probably the same guy. Even though nowhere in the Bible says Levi equals Matthew. There's no Simon and Peter going, you used to be Simon, now you're Peter. It's just there's probably just one tax collector disciple. He's either Levi or Matthew. That's where it came from. So now you know, Levi might be the same person as Matthew, but he might not be. But that's the other tax collector. Marion and Jan, I saw you just come in. Welcome. Do you want to be a team or join on another team here?
We'll be a team.
You'll be a team. So you just missed St. Matthew the evangelist. Now we're going to be into the Gospel of Matthew. So if you got that right, give yourself another point. Okay. Gospel of Matthew. Round 2. The Gospel. Like the book of the Bible. On Matthew. The Gospel according to Matthew. First question. Only in the Gospel of Matthew this is noted. Where did Jesus' family flee with him as a child to escape King Herod? Where did they go? Where did they go? Okay, I think we're all ready to go to the next one. The Gospel of Matthew has a distinct beginning that's different than the other Gospels. How does the Gospel of Matthew begin? It does not have a Star Wars scroll. It doesn't have some sort of, it has a very particular beginning to the Gospel of Matthew. What is it? Do we all have enough time on that one? Okay, ready for the next one? This is also only in the Gospel of Matthew. In the Gospel of Matthew, when an angel comes and talks about Jesus being born, that's before Jesus is on the scene, the angel says that this person being this Jesus, this God, will be God with us. What is that name for Jesus? That's not just God with us. There's a distinct name to give Jesus, and it's only in the Gospel of Matthew. It's the only time it appears in the Gospels. What is that name for Jesus? Think about, like, if you're not sure, think about like Christmas time, all the various names for God that come up. Do we all have time to get that one? Perfect. Next, 2 more. So guess what? Each of the 4 Gospels have a crucifixion scene. And in each of the Gospels, Jesus has has a final thing he says from the cross. It's one of the last 7 words, as you hear, the 7 sayings that Jesus has from the cross. There is one that comes from the Gospel of Matthew. What does Jesus say before he dies in the Gospel of Matthew from the cross? And as a bonus, just name any of the others. So there's 7. One of the 7 things Jesus says that'll get you a bonus point. But you'll get more points if you know what Jesus said in the Gospel of Matthew.
Yeah, that's right.
A bonus,
So
like Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That's all. Probably right across from the south.
yes, Ross.
Appreciate
There's a lot
the
of Old Testament.
glowing stars.
Oh, isn't that kind of fun? Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of a fun, like, trivia-themed
Yes.
slides I found. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, first.
So are we still working on this? Are you good? Linda, is your team good? Are you still negotiating?
Are we still, I think that we're done.
You sure? We can take more time. We're in absolutely no rush here, okay? Final question. I don't expect you to know this. This is one of those things you might learn in like seminary. That the Gospel of Matthew, there's like the Jesus, like early Jesus life. I won't say any more because that's a part of one of the other questions. There's a crucifixion. And in between the structure of the gospel is there's like 5 long teachings he gives. They're often called discourses, maybe a sermon. There's 5 of them in the Gospel of Matthew. 5 long extended teachings Jesus gives. They all have names to them. Name one of them. One of the big teachings from the gospel. There's 5. I just need one. If you know more power to you, but need one, but you can put down more if you want.
Rabbinical discourses. They use 5 books. And Matthew's were Jewish. Certainly one is on the bread. Bread of life.
Do we still need more time? Are we good? Okay. Well, now we can review these now. So, where did Jesus' family flee with him as a child to escape King Herod?
Egypt.
Yeah, we're round 2. Give yourself 2 points for that one. Make there more points. That's exactly right. So, yes, Dave?
Funny story about that. So one time we were on a trip in Egypt, and the boat stopped at the side of the road, on the side of the Nile, and there was a museum there. And we went in this museum, And the question was, did the Holy Family really ever go to Egypt? And so in this big rock, there was a footprint. And you could think it was a footprint. And so the guide said, and this is the footprint of Jesus to prove that the Holy Family came to Egypt. And I said, how do you know that that's the footprint of Jesus? And he said, what else could it be?
I love it.
Yeah, that was something I haven't seen that. That's pretty funny. But the Egyptian church is very proud of this fact. They're like, where there was nowhere else safe for Jesus to go, we were the people that took Jesus in. A lot of pride. And also there's some really wild stories about Jesus as a kid in Egypt. You'll find those online. There's some wild ones. Like he's like playing with mud and makes little birds out of the mud and they come to life and fly away. It's like really wild. And I think he like accidentally kills a kid. It's like he's almost like this like baby rattlesnake that doesn't know his strength yet. They're really weird stories. But there's a whole like collection of, like I think they're called the infancy gospels. I think the infancy gospel of Thomas, I think, is one of the main ones. But yeah, Egypt. How does the Gospel of Matthew begin?
With the big hats.
Genealogy.
Exactly, begats or genealogy. That's exactly right. Give yourself another 2 points for that one. And this will be kind of a recurring theme. This is really trying to root Jesus in Jewish history and messianic expectations. So this is a lot about like ancestry, and the Jewishness is important. So that'll be a recurring theme. Give yourself 2 points for the begats or for saying that it's a genealogy. Nice work there. Next question. What name does the angel say Jesus will be called, meaning God with us?
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel. Give yourself 2 points for that. Good job. This is a quote from Isaiah. So if you go into like Bible Gateway and search for Emmanuel, you'll see some Old Testament references like in Isaiah and some New Testament ones in Matthew, and that's about it. Give yourself another 2 points for that one. Question 4. What are Jesus' words from the cross in Matthew's gospel? That's exactly right. So, or in English it is,
My God, my God, my God.
there you go. If you got that right, give yourself 2 points. Good job.
That was the second one.
That is, see, it's like one of a couple things, but Matthew is the my God, why have you forsaken me? And does anybody else know any of the other 7 last words? It's finished. Good job. Give yourself 1 point for that. You got 2 for the main one, 1 point for the bonus. It is finished. Did anybody else get anything else? What else?
To your hand with me in heaven.
Yep. Into your hands I commend my spirit. Yep. What else?
Father, forgive them.
Father, forgive them. Yep.
Woman, behold thy son, behold thy mother.
Yep. Now, there you go. So if you got any of those, you get 1 point. You can't get 6 points for this, but, the bonus, but you give yourself a point if you got one of those. Good job. Then there's 2 more. Does anybody else know the other 2?
Today you will be with me.
Behold thy mother.
Perfect. There we go. We're missing 1 now. Yep. Yeah. We got that. Yep. So
Did we say
I thirst. I think we got them all now. So it's Father, forgive them. You'll be with me in paradise. Behold your son. Behold your mother. My God, why have you forsaken me? I thirst. It's finished. And into your hands I commend my spirit.
Yeah.
Good job there. Nice work. That was one of the, like, this was the one I was like, it's one of a couple of things. I didn't think about it. So good job for getting that one.
Yeah, we all
Right.
go to church on Easter.
There you go. But there's still 4 of them. They can kind of get mixed up. So nice work there. Give yourself 2 points for the main one, 1 point for the bonus. Okay. There are 5 main teachings in the Gospel of Matthew. Name one.
Beatitudes.
Yes, the Beatitudes are a part of this larger teaching. I'll give you the Beatitudes.
the sermon on the
Yep, the Beatitudes are in the Sermon on the Mount. Yep.
And the Pentateuch has 5
High priestly
books.
prayer.
There we go. Cara, you're anticipating what comes next. The Pentateuch, the old, like the first 5 books of the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Those are like the five, like the Torah right there. 5 books, 5 sermons. See that? They're like, because the whole point is like Jesus is the new Moses. Remember, Moses goes to Egypt. Jesus goes to Egypt. It's like they're trying to emphasize that because Moses is the person that got the law, and Jesus is giving a new law. And so that's kind of the Matthew in his gospel really wants you to get these things about Jesus. So there's 5 of these teachings to correspond with the 5 books, the Torah. One of them is the Sermon on the Mount. Anybody else guess any of the other ones?
There's the whole bread time. I don't know if that's a bread.
Yeah, so there's one that's on like the church where he ultimately gives the he kind of introduces communion. So that's often called the church discourse, and here the bread discourse is like in John. So I was just curious if anybody was what do you think?
High priestly prayer.
The high priestly prayer is also in John. See, like the fun, I'd be very surprised, honestly. These are like kind of obscure ones. There's one, but the easiest one to guess is there's one just called the parables sermon.
What?
So if you did the parables sermon. So if you just said parables, because in Matthew they're all in one sermon. There you go, good job. Then there's one he gives a sermon before he sends the disciples out, so it's the mission sermon. There's one about the church, and then he has the one kind of like his final sermon before he's betrayed. This is, come back next fall, and you'll hear it and you'll get sick of it, because they were cast into the outer darkness and there was weeping and gnashing of teeth. It's this like apocalyptic final one where he's talking about things getting bad. But the Sermon on the Mount is kind of what I was expecting you all to get. Good job on that one. That was kind of a tricky one. So, now we're on to the church. So we've done St. Matthew the person, St. Matthew the gospel, and now St. Matthew the church. Ready for this one? The first question is, we have 4 churches that are global and local partners. Name them. 1 point for each of them. 4 churches that are our partners. Name our 4 partner churches.
Tanzania.
Local and global. So, what are our 4 partners?
Cross. That's local. Reformation.
Local Lutheran Church.
Tanzania, El Salvador.
Four.
I've never been.
If we have a specific, there are like 6 churches. I think many congregations. How did what? How did do
We good? Do we have did everybody get a chance to guess, we think?
Yep.
Question 2. What was the original language of worship at St. Matthew's? When St. Matthew's was founded, what language was worship in? Do you know this one, Ed? Nice work. I know. Yeah, so that's I figured that.
But it was originally Wells people.
Okay, so does the Bible study help with a lot of these things? Did you talk about the discourses, the sermons?
You could be in our group.
Come on,
Help us.
I don't know, but I thought it was because it was split up.
Yeah.
at my in-laws' church, they were Lutheran, but when they came to Kenosha, the Methodist church.
Are we still working? Do we still debating? Have we agreed on a language?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's go to the next one. Over time, our sanctuary orientation has changed.
Yep.
How has our sanctuary orientation changed over time?
Well, first it was the Lutheran church, and then it was the 50s church, and then now 2000.
Oh, yeah. See, it's what the orient.
Right on the other side.
And then,
Was that a stone church or wood church?
Oh, it was stone and limestone. Because you see it on the side. Yeah.
I never, I've seen pictures, but I never knew that the altar was over there.
Yeah. Yeah. And there used to be a gas station. Set out tanks. So we would go in, and then when you came out, you had to go back to get gas. Yeah, about 60 years. Yeah, the first time we visited Pastor Neely.
Have we all had a chance to
And
guess?
then Pastor Leonard.
Cool. What social ministry started in St. Matthew's kitchen?
Just one more meal. Just one more
That was the name of it?
meal. One more meal.
So what's the current meaning of the sandwich?
Well, that's going to that shelter.
No, and I never.
Okay, but that wasn't a part of this.
No.
Why they feed down.
Oh, okay.
The guy that you recommended was outstanding. Just no offense. Beautiful.
I can hear you.
Everybody guessed that one?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, we got one more on this, and this one is another 4-part answer, like the first one.
Oh,
Over the
4
last
years?
4 years,
Oh my.
like basically like post-COVID, there's been 4 high school mission trips. Name the 4 spots.
Washington.
Do you know this one?
Well, the first one after COVID, they just went to Kenosha because of COVID. Well, this one.
Like Appalachia.
I would say Kenosha because they were out next food center there.
I hope so. I hope so.
That was old. And go to Texas.
To practice my German. And she was,
Houston.
correct me.
Well,
Well, the 4 and 1, so it was
El Salvador and Tanzania, those are the youth groups.
No.
What's that? This week it's Stewart, right?
Anybody still guessing?
Unless it's
So just so you all know, we have plenty of time if anybody wants to share any thoughts or kind of go on any tangents in this section to talk through things. So what churches are current global and local partners of St. Matthew's? I'll give you a point for their names. I'll give you a half point if you can get the locations. So like it'll be so half for the name, half for the location. So I should have been more clear there, but to make it a little bit more tricky. But maybe I'll be nice and give the location just to get the locations. Let's just see. What do we have? What are our 4 locations or our 4 global partners? What do we have? Cross, which is in Milwaukee. Perfect. That's 1 point. There you go. 16th and Walnut. There you go. That's like I couldn't have even told you that. I just put it in Google Maps. Cross, Reformation, which is in
35th Milwaukee.
It's Milwaukee. Yep. Yeah. Historically was on Lisbon, but I think I hear that a lot. Yep. Then we have El Salvador. Does anybody know the name of our partner church in El Salvador? Pan de Vida, which in English is Bread of Life. There we go. So Pan de Vida.
I knew that.
So we partner with Pan de Vida as a church in El Salvador, and there's also a kind of like a homeless shelter. That's Casa Esperanza that we also partner with. They're not a church per se, but that's another El Salvador group that is managed by our partners in El Salvador. So it's a Lutheran ministry in El Salvador. And then there's one more partner. Tanzania. Does anybody know the name of our partner church in Tanzania? Singisi. There we go. Good job. 1 point for each of those.
What does it mean, Singisi?
I think Singisi is just the name of the village that they're in, the community that they're in. Is that right? Isn't Singisi just
I
in?
thought the church was named that too.
Yeah, because I think
Church is in,
because isn't Singisi the name of the church and the name of the community it's in?
Or is that a region?
It must be.
it's a city.
Yeah, so it'd be like naming like St. Matthew being called like Wauwatosa Lutheran Church.
Yeah.
Arusha,
Arusha.
Tanzania. Arusha, Tanzania.
Yeah, so it's like in the region of the country's Arusha. It's by Mount Meru.
Yes.
Have any of you been to Tanzania before? I know a couple of you have. Many of you been to Tanzania and seen our partners over there? Like, Brian, have you done that?
Bridget went.
Bridget went, because I knew she did. I didn't know if you'd gone. Yeah, so our hope is to be able to go next year to Tanzania. But no, never mind. Next program year, not like 26, like early 2027. Coinciding with some events that if this wasn't on the internet, I would say what the event would be early in the year, like probably January, February of 27 is when we plan to go to Tanzania. So it'll be fun. Hopefully you all can go, or some of you are interested in going. It's a whole big journey over there, but it'll be a neat time. And have any of you been to El Salvador? There's a couple of you been. Like, gone to El Salvador and seen our partners down there?
We actually went to El Salvador before we joined St.
Cool.
Matthew's, but we did visit some other partner
Nice.
churches, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, whereabouts in El Salvador were you?
Well, we stayed in San Salvador,
Cool.
but then, what was the name of the village that we went?
The top of the mountain
Um,
during a monsoon.
Other people who have been there will know, shoot, I'm not gonna remember the name of the little village. Incredible experience.
Yeah.
They didn't know exactly when we were coming because of communications.
Mhm.
When they saw the bus coming, somebody ran up to the village to say, they're here, they're here.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden, like a woman just got out of her house and gave it to us. And so we all slept on the floor in her house.
Oh, my.
It was unbelievable, the hospitality.
Want to tell them about how you got scared at? There were 15 of us on this little floor, and she had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and it was a monsoon. And so she climbs over all these sleeping bodies. She gets outside in this huge rainstorm, has to go through barbed wire. And she gets to the outhouse and she opens the door, and there are 2 dogs in there.
Oh, my. Oh.
And she screams, wakes everybody up.
Yeah,
I was not expecting eyes in the outhouse.
that's right.
And I went with a church in Brookfield,
Cool.
and we were in San Salvador,
Nice.
and it looked like we took classes. We worked every day,
Nice.
except it was 10 days, I think.
Nice.
And we toured a little bit the last day, but otherwise we went into this clinic every day, and it was a wonderful experience.
Nice.
And I don't have a medical background, but I was a teacher, and I worked with the children.
Nice. Yeah, when I've been to El Salvador, I have more medical focused trips, and similarly, I can't do a lot of medical stuff. They were like, okay, you can play with the kids, and they also got to put fluoride on kids' teeth, which was, their teeth weren't in great shape, so that was kind of a gross job, but it was a really powerful experience as well for me.
What was neat about Tanzania was Pastor Elias Katoy-Nasari spent a year with us.
Yeah.
And he was just wonderful, but he had a great sense of humor. He was preaching one day and he says, "You people in America are very strange. The man and the woman argue and the man has to sleep at the dog's house." And everybody laughed,
Oh,
but
got
he
that wrong,
knew
yeah.
that's how we sound to people in other countries. That's some hard thing. But he was so nice, and he taught us a little Asante Sanas, thank you very much.
Yeah, I know that from Lion King, right? Yeah.
Rotelio Grande
Right.
was the name of the village.
Mhm.
I knew it would come
Yep.
back to me, Rotelio
Yep.
Grande.
Yep, I've definitely heard of them. I haven't been there. My previous congregation I was at, our partners were in Tepeagua, which kind of roughly translates to like tepid water.
Oh.
But you can see it's a lot of the communities in that are Lutheran or have Lutheran churches in El Salvador are kind of like where people were displaced as a result of the Civil War, so they're often not the most like desirable parts of the country. And Rutilio Grande is named after a person named Rutilio Grande, who was, I think, pretty influential and kind of in advocating for justice down in El Salvador. I want to say he was one of the people that was martyred, if that's,
I think he might have been.
yeah, kind of there. I mean, the most famous martyr is Oscar Romero, but there were a number of other people as well. So that's, any other questions or comments about our 4 partner churches? Okay, cool. Next, what was the original language of worship at St. Matthew's?
English. English.
English.
Yeah, English.
Purposely English.
It's English. Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like it's real. Maybe this sounds very like pastory of me, but I feel like you can learn a lot about a church by learning about how a church got founded. And St. Matthew's was a split off from a German language church, St. John's. What was happening about 1920 in the United States?
Right after World War I.
Right after World War I. And so if you had kind of a German language church, you're still kind of acting kind of like a little bit more like an ethnic enclave at a time where the Germans weren't especially popular in the US. So St. Matthew's was founded as a kind of idea and hoped to assimilate a little bit more into American society and culture and speak English. So it's not just like a fun fact, it's like instrumental to who St. Matthew's is. St. Matthew's was founded as an English language church. That's the original language. There were German people, but English language, yep.
Was St. John's Wisconsin Synod at that time, or what was St. John's?
That is a great question. When I studied you're kind of stretching the limits of my knowledge of church history. I can tell you that so we now have, it more or less now is like the ELCA, the Wisconsin Synod, and the Missouri Synod, and then like some of the like more conservative split offs after openly gay pastors being able to be ordained, like the LCMC, which are kind of come out of the strand of the ELCA. The ELCA was formed in '89, but if you just like look, it's just like all these different church bodies over time came together. The Slovaks, the Finns, a couple waves of German immigration, a couple waves of Swedish and Norwegian and Danish, like immigration, all these different over time came together to form the ELCA. And so there was like, I can remember looking this up, that like there was something like the United, there was a U in it at some point for what St. Matthew's was a part of, and had ended up like then became a part of another body that became another body that became part of the LCA.
The LCA.
Yeah.
It was ALC, or
Yeah.
It was
ULC.
ULC, yeah.
One time.
And
There was
LCA.
LCA, that's what I was brought up.
LCA, ALC, and then there was also the AELC, which was the split off from the Missouri Synod, kind of in the early 70s.
And the language of churches joined, that was in the late 50s.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The St.
I went
John's
through
used to
some
have a German
research
service.
when I was doing my master's thesis, and I went and I read all the old voices.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever want to read something kind of interesting,
Yeah.
there's some interesting information in those, and they're back in the closet somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, there's that book, The
Yeah,
Voice.
exactly. And there was a book that,
Yeah.
as Bev mentioned, called The Voice that came out, I think, in 2020, or was at least compiled in 2020, that draws directly from
The Voice.
The Voice.
No.
Like, there's fun stuff in it, like, if you know Ken and Sue Voigt, their wedding picture is in it from like 66, I want to say. And I felt like I wasn't quite comfortable being like, who is this couple that got married here? But so there's lots of fun stuff in that. So that was a roundabout way of saying I know how kind of how there were mergers and such to form the ELC. I don't know as much as if there were similar like predecessor bodies to the Wisconsin Synod, but it was either a part of the St. John's was either a part of the Wisconsin Synod or some sort of predecessor body that forms that.
You know, to be different then from the German St. John's, do you know why they chose St. Matthew's to be the patron saint? Yeah.
Instead of John?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure.
I thought too late to look it up in the book, The Voice, the 100th anniversary.
Yeah, I haven't heard it anywhere. If anybody finds out, yeah, by all means, let me know. I think that'd be an interesting fact.
It says St. John's of Wauwatosa in 1920 was an evangelical Lutheran church, which is now identified with Wells.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that would kind of make sense when you have a name like that. When you have like for instance, I used to live in Bayview. Like, there's an old German church on Connecticut that has a name like that in German, and also the German, like the German name for the church body. That's Lutheran is the Evangelisch. Did I pronounce that roughly right, Dave?
Evangelisch.
So that's kind of that. So Evangelisch is, I think that was close enough. Kind of would correspond, I think, with evangelical Lutheran Church. So, I guess the one word answer was yeah, they were Wells, but that might not be the most precise answer. Okay. How has the orientation of our sanctuary changed over time?
Every direction.
Moved 90 degrees.
It moved 90 degrees. Does anybody know how many times it's moved 90 degrees?
Carl said it used to be facing north, then west, then north again.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's rotated 90 degrees twice. North, then west, then north again.
So you see that wall, that it has a cornerstone even, and then the original one was right about here, and the library was the altar.
So the old altar used to be in the library, and it runs kind of like this direction, parallel to the current sanctuary, all the way through that little like chapel, that was a part of the original sanctuary. Go look at the ceilings. You can kind of see how it lines up that way. Then we rotated it 90 degrees this way.
This way.
Yep, and so like where the altar is where like the organ was, where the organ is. The way you probably the easiest way to notice that, probably go look at the AV booth, because it still looks like a choir loft, as it used to be. And then we rotated it again 90 degrees back to be the same orientation as how it originally was, but parallel to the original sanctuary. So just like, if you're unsure, just look at the ceilings. The ceilings can give it away. Not a drop ceiling like this, but over there, you can do that. So if you got that, give yourself, each of those last two questions about the original language and the orientation, give yourself 3 points if you got those, because the first question, there was a point each for one of those. What social ministry started in our kitchen? John, what stands for?
Just one word, your ministry.
Perfect. Give yourself 3 points if you got that. I'm impressed that you all knew that one.
Yeah.
Have any of you been involved with JOM over time? Looks like a lot of you have, yeah.
Actually, there are 5 of us that started downstairs in the basement with Chris Capper.
Yeah.
And do you know what the story?
No.
Yeah. He had a problem with alcohol, and he got on his knees and asked God to take this away from
He
him.
was in jail.
And he did, yeah, he was in the house of correction. And he said to Pastor Chris, he says, I have to pay God back for doing this for me. He said, what can I do? And they had just had a meal in church from Saz's. And Pastor Chris asked if they could take that food down to Epitha Church. And Pastor Mary Margaret would distribute to her people. And Sazza said, tell them to come every Thursday, I'll give them all the food that was brought back. And that started the whole thing. And now he's got a warehouse, a huge warehouse on your First and Capitol, which is when you do the right thing and you do it, you serve God the right way. Look at how he increased that.
That's amazing. Yeah. Did you all hear that story about the connection with how it started with work, taking food from Saz's?
Well, didn't he start with taking bread first?
One
loaf of bread, that's how it started.
Or you get it
Yeah,
from
that was my
outside.
in-laws that would come here, Brad and
It
Jane.
was through Elmbrook Church, and they couldn't handle it anymore. They were getting the bread from Sendex and whatnot, and so actually my daughter's mother-in-law connected with Chris, and he put the bread in his trunk and took it down to the inner city and opened the trunk and started giving away the bread.
And I forget which company it was, they called Chris and said, we have a pallet of food that was mismarked. It was chicken and they mismarked it as beef or something like that. Can you use it? And he said, absolutely. The companies have been bringing pallets of food down to him ever since.
Thank you all for sharing that. Last but certainly not least in this category, where did our high school youth go for mission trips over the past 4 years? I'll give you a point each for each of those.
New Orleans.
New Orleans, where else?
Washington, D.C.
New Orleans and D.C. Those are the last two. I've been on those two. Where else? Kenosha.
And Milwaukee.
Milwaukee was before that. And then the other one is Kentucky. There we go. Kenosha, Kentucky, which is like an Appalachian trip. Kenosha, Kentucky, New Orleans, D.C. Good job. Give yourself a point each for those.
So we didn't have Kentucky.
Okay, good job though. Now 3 final questions, okay? They're kind of miscellaneous here. First off, what color is typically used in church for the feast of St. Matthew?
Red.
What's the color? Cool, I think you all got that. What is the traditional feast day of St. Matthew the Apostle? What is the day for the feast of St. Matthew? I think it is. Take a guess.
That's today. What's today?
Well, probably
I think it's a special day apart from Pentecost.
Oh, I thought they designated one
Because
Sunday.
it falls on a weekday.
Oh,
So, not
Hanukkah.
necessarily on a Sunday. Yeah, it's today, but, I mean, unless it falls.
Sunday.
It's today.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all made a guess? Okay. This is the final question in the whole game.
This one.
Where does St. Matthew's get coffee for fellowship?
Okay.
Where do we get our coffee?
Mount Meru.
Upper Commons.
That's right. Yeah, this is not like I'm going to the store. Right? Okay, we all got that one? Okay, great. Let's go over these. What color is typically used in the church for the feast of St. Matthew?
Red.
Red. Do you know why we use red?
Because we like
Blood
that
of the
color.
martyrs.
Yeah. So if there's a feast day for you and you got martyred, you got killed, you get red. Does that kind of give the hint about where the red comes from? Blood. Honestly, it is. And then there's also the sense of that these people have been inspired by the Holy Spirit, which is associated with red. Yeah, so the Pentecost is red because that's more like the red of fire for the Spirit coming down. But then red is also, so that's why Reformation is red as well, because it's like the Holy Spirit's guidance with red. But that's why, for instance, if you go to an ordination for a pastor, they will wear red because it's like the Spirit's call. So that's like fire, but it can also be blood. Every color that we use in church, there's a reason for it. So that's a larger conversation. We'll talk about that a little bit in December, right? Are you going to touch on that in December, Dave? The kind of the colors and any of that? Maybe. No. Okay. No, but we get red for this day. That's why I had to go change out of my stole and possible with a red because that would have been too easy for you. What is the traditional feast day of St. Matthew the Apostle?
Sometime in September.
How about today?
Anybody take a guess? What is it?
We guess the 21st.
It is the 21st. The feast day happens to fall today. Good job. If you guessed the 21st, you got that right. Give yourself a point for that one. Yep, it wasn't a trick question. I mean, it's kind of, but that's why we're celebrating it this year. Maybe in the future we would celebrate if it falls on like a Monday or Tuesday, but we want to celebrate it this year because it's the 21st. It is literally today. Feast day of St. Matthew, the Apostle, today. Why? I don't know why. There's no traditional reason. Like a more recent person, they're going to usually put it on the day of their death, but we don't know what day St. Matthew died. That's just the day that got assigned. Where does St. Matthew's get coffee for fellowship hour? Yeah, the Mount Meru coffee. Tanzania. So this helps support, farmers that are partners in Tanzania, and helps ensure that people have a living wage and they're treated fairly justly and do kind of sustainable ecological practices, and help our friends over there. So that's a good way to get some decent coffee and help our friends over there. So that's why we get coffee from Mount Meru Coffee Company. You can also buy it too we have some bags available for purchase as well, if you're interested in that. Give yourself a point if you got that. If you had the most points, you all win. You're all winners for being here. Thanks for being here. You can, you guys want to add it up and compare it later. But thanks for being here. I hope you had some fun. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
And we had an exchange student from Germany today.
We did, Lena.